Why I can't get a job, and it's not just me. If you've been applying to jobs for months with no response, you're not alone. The US job market from 2025 to today has quietly shifted into one of the hardest hiring environments in years, even though no one is calling it a recession. The job market has cooled hard, slower hiring everywhere. Economists agreed 2025 was the year the labor market hit the brakes. Hiring slowed across industries, businesses became more cautious due to inflation, tariffs, and global volatility. Even as layoffs stayed low, companies simply stopped adding new roles. Unemployment creeping up. The unemployment rate hovered around 4.4% in late 2025. Forecasts show it peaking around 4.5% in 2026. Job growth in 2026 is expected to be little to none. Translation for job seekers. You're not getting rejected because you're unqualified. You're competing in a market where companies aren't hiring. The frozen labor market. Economists describe 2025 and 2026 as a low hire, low fire, or frozen labor market. Workers aren't quitting, companies aren't firing, but they're also not opening new roles. This creates a bottleneck. Fewer openings, more applicants per job, longer hiring timelines, and more ghosting. Recruiters report massive applicant pools, AI screening out resumes, final round candidates being dropped with no explanation. Structural shifts making it worse. AI is reducing job openings. Companies are adopting automation faster than they're hiring. Analysts warn AI may be reducing demand for certain roles, especially admin, support, and entry-level positions. Tariff uncertainty. Businesses are delaying hiring because they don't know how tariffs will affect costs. Immigration policy changes. Immigration crackdowns are shrinking the labor supply, but paradoxically, companies still say they can't find qualified candidates. Economic forecasts show stagnation. GDP growth in 2026 is expected to be positive but weak. Economists call the outlook fragile. This means companies are playing defense, not offense. Why it feels impossible to get hired. 1. More competition per job. With fewer openings, each posting gets flooded. 2. AI resume filters. Automated screening removes candidates before a human even sees them. 3. Ghosting is now normal. Recruiters admit they ghost because they're overwhelmed, roles get paused, hiring managers change direction. 4. Companies are waiting out uncertainty. Even when they like a candidate, they delay offers. 5. Skills mismatch. Companies want highly specialized skills even for mid-level roles. The bigger picture. Economists say the volatility of the pandemic years is over, but what's emerging is a new, more complex labor market shaped by technology, demographics, post-pandemic economic adjustments. This isn't a temporary dip, it's a structural shift. So why can't you get a job? Because you're trying to break into a labor market that is hiring fewer people, is more selective, is more automated, is more cautious, and is still adjusting to massive economic changes. It's not you, it's the system. If you're struggling to get hired, you're not failing. You're surviving one of the toughest job markets in years. The data proves it. The system is changing and job seekers are caught in the middle. But understanding the landscape is the first step to navigating it. Part 2, because I wanted to add a little bit more about middle management and U.S. policy. Why middle management is being wiped out. Everyone says the job market is fine, but if you're applying and hearing nothing, you're not imagining it. The middle of the American workforce is collapsing. The hidden crisis. Middle management is being eliminated. This is one of the biggest underreported shifts in the U.S. labor market. Companies are flattening their organization charts. Across industries, businesses are removing layers of management, consolidating teams, expecting fewer managers to oversee more people. This means fewer mid level openings, more competition for the ones that remain, people with 10 to 20 years of experience applying for roles once considered entry level. Why companies are doing this? Executives say middle managers slow decision making. They're expensive. AI tools can replace parts of their job, such as reporting, scheduling, oversight, and analytics. So companies cut middle, not the top and not the bottom. The AI factor, automating the middle. AI isn't replacing frontline workers, it's replacing coordinators, supervisors, analysts, and managers. Tasks that used to require a person, such as performance tracking, workflow monitoring, reporting, scheduling, and basic decision making, now get handled by automated dashboards, predictive analytics, and AI driven workflow tools. This reduces the need for project managers, operations managers, HR coordinators, administrative supervisors, and team leads. These were the roles people used to grow into. Now they're disappearing. US policy is making the job market even tighter. This part is crucial. The job market isn't shaped by companies alone. Immigration enforcement. Recent US immigration policies have reduced the number of available workers in certain sectors, increased compliance costs for employers, made companies more cautious about hiring. Some businesses respond by automating faster, outsourcing, and delaying hiring entirely. 2. Tariffs and trade uncertainty. Tariffs on imports raise costs for businesses. When costs rise, hiring freezes follow. Companies don't expand when they don't know what materials will cost, what regulators will change, whether supply chains will be disrupted. Federal interest rate policy. Higher interest rates make loans more expensive, expansion riskier, hiring slower. Even if the economy isn't in recession, policy-driven caution creates a recession-like job market. Corporate tax incentives. Some incentives reward automation, capital investment, restructuring, but not necessarily hiring. The result, a job market that feels rigged. Combine all these forces and you get a system where middle management is shrinking. Fewer roles exist. Entry-level roles require mid-level experience because mid-level workers are flooding the bottom. AI filters out resumes before humans even see them. Even qualified candidates get screened out. Companies are cautious because of policy uncertainty. They delay hiring, freeze roles, or quietly cancel them. Workers feel stuck because they are. Why you can't get a job, the real answer. It's not because you're unqualified, you're lazy, you're doing something wrong. It's because the middle of the labor market is collapsing. US policy is creating uncertainty. Companies are automating instead of hiring. AI is filtering candidates before humans look. Hiring pipelines are clogged with overqualified applicants. You're not failing, the system is shifting under your feet. If you're struggling to get hired, it's not a personal failure. It's a structural transformation. Middle management is disappearing. Companies are cautious, and US policy is reshaping the labor market. Understanding the forces at play is the first step to navigating them. I'm going to finish this off by, kind of talking just about my own personal experience. I left my job back at the beginning of 2025, largely because I was applying to medical schools, which I don't even want to get into that. Tough scenes there, too. I've applied to jobs, granted, for a little bit of time. I wasn't applying to jobs because I was applying to medical schools, but I mean, I have my bachelor's degree in nutritional sciences, but as well as that, I have three minors, which would be general business, chemistry, and biology. And largely, that's because I was a pre-med and I had to take all those courses to begin with. So then I only had to take like two more chemistry and biology classes. to get those 2 minors, and then I wanted to get my general business minor. I feel that business is very important as for in the primary, primary school education, they don't teach that. They really don't teach you. It's important. You should know how to handle money. They don't want you to know how to handle money because the less you know about handling money, the more money they can make off of you. That's a little bit of a tangent. However, it's incredibly difficult to make money right now. I'm fortunate enough to have some support and a good foundation, but at this rate, it cost me $3,000 just to apply to medical schools. It's ridiculous. The world's so expensive. Inflation is off the charts right now. I don't even want to get into all that. That's like for another video, but the cost of living is expensive. What even is the American dream anymore? What are we doing? What's the plot? We've lost the plot. And allegedly, if you had listened to the current administration, things are going swimmingly. Things are wonderful. The economy's huge. You know what I mean? Like, no, it isn't. Economy is like on the verge of collapse because it's fueled by people. What they are trying to do is take the people out of it. I'll tell you, first and foremost, there's way too many people that were involved that are now unable to involve themselves. People who are unoccupied minds tend to do pretty drastic things. Obviously, we're living in very tense times as well. It's not the way, It's not the way. Policy really screwed this up on one front, but on another front, why did I go to college? Yeah, and I'm sure so many people feel this way. I paid a lot of money to go to college. Luckily, I got out moderately without debt. I know a lot of people that are going to be paying off their debt for probably the rest of their lives because, for one, they can't get a job now to then have an income to pay debt. Yet they still have to live. What's the goal? I can't and don't tell me go work at fast food, McDonald's, retail. A lot of people do that, but those are flooded industries as well because there's nowhere for anyone to go. You can't cut out all these jobs. It's too many people. So many people. Stay strong, everybody. That's all you can do. Try to figure out ways to stay busy because, like I said, unoccupied mind's dangerous. The busier you are, the better. Trying to educate yourself, create some things, this, that. I mean, AI is a great tool. I'm not going to say AI is the root cause of all this. It's people trying to replace jobs with AI. We're trying to replace people with AI. That's not cool. AI should be a tool to be used. It should not replace jobs. That's like the bottom line. The reason they want it to replace jobs, you don't have to pay AI. You don't have to pay AI. So obviously, if you're a completely bottom line based industry or company, which we live in America, capitalism, the land of capitalism, it's not. I mean, it's the land of greed is what it really is. But obviously, yeah, if you're greedy, you could replace everybody with AI except for yourself, right? If you were at the top. But that's the funny thing about it is even those guys, arguably those are the guys who could be replaced by AI too. They act like they make decisions. They don't. I mean, they just make regular decisions. I feel like everybody could make. It's just pie in the sky ideas. All right. Good night, everybody. It's 10:40 actually for me. 10:40 p.m. And may God bless you.